We are Eeva Teräsvirta and Marianne Koski from the Finnish Heritage Agency, where we, among our other responsibilities, coordinate the evaluation work in the Finnish museum sector. We are also members of this MOI project team. We will now present you the project, its aims, and key concepts. And Marianne, would you like to tell us what kind of project MOI is and what are the main activities?
Yes, and I'd like to thank Leena for also describing the main outlines of our project. And on this slide, you will find the project in a nutshell, very tightly. We are aiming, as Leena already told you, to develop a self-evaluation framework for museums. Developing the tool is a joint effort of partnership with 11 European museums, museum developers, and public bodies. The project consists of a series of workshops and stakeholder forums, as well as a piloting phase in between. At the moment, we have gathered to the third forum of the project, and we are very glad to have you all here, because the discussions in the afternoon will be essential in building the first version of the framework that will be piloted during the summer and fall this year in European museums. After the feedback and experiences from the pilots, 3 more open stakeholder forums will be arranged to further work on the content and structure of the tool. The final version of the MOI framework will be published in 7 languages at the end of next year, and it will be available online for everyone to use. Our project will provide a concrete developmental tool for museums, regardless of their size or sector, for internal dialogue and reflection. The framework will cover topical evaluation areas and offer specific evaluation questions. We believe and hope that the framework we are developing at the moment will help museums to review and develop their activities in a way that will increase their impact in society. Eeva will now take you through the key concepts in our project.
Yes, the 2 key concepts in this project, as Leena already told, are developmental evaluation and impact. And we want to present you shortly what we mean by these concepts in this project, since they form the background for the upcoming evaluation framework. Developmental evaluation is an evaluation approach that can help us to develop social change initiatives and complex or uncertain environments. Developmental evaluation approach will facilitate continuous development loop and real-time feedback. And Petri Uusikylä in the next presentation will explain this further. But in our case, we aim for development evaluation framework for museums that emphasizes processes and practices of discussion to identify changes in environment and to create common understanding and shared view on how museum organizations and activities should respond to those changes. Learning and development are also an integral part of the evaluation process in developmental evaluation. So compared to the, so to say, classical quality assessment or measuring, this approach aims to change the focus from doing things right to doing the right things. The second key concept in our upcoming framework is impact. Our aim is to help museums to strengthen their impact, as you have already heard. We are now building a framework to evaluate, we are not building a framework to evaluate museums' impact. Instead, this framework will be about evaluating different conditions in the museum organizations from the perspective of making an impact. Marianne, would you like to tell us a little bit more about this?
When we have been talking about the project, maybe the first couple of questions usually are how do you define impact and how do you measure it? But as Eeva told, that's not what the project or the tool is for. So what are we talking about when we are talking about the impact? First, it cannot be defined from above or outside the museum. It is unique for every museum, and it requires constant work and interaction with your surroundings and also inside the museum. That change you want to be in the society, that change you want to make to be a positive force in the society. You need to identify your goals and actively focus and build your path towards them. This means that you have to evaluate, reset, rethink, and really go through your everyday operations and your organization to recognize if that everyday work, your resources and services are truly aligned to achieve the intended impact. Because to achieve something different and to make a change and to be a change maker that we are discussing also today in the roundtable, to build futures, you really cannot keep doing the same things over and over again than you have done before and expect a different outcome. Eeva will now take you through some key questions in setting the impact goals.
Yes, here you can see some of the key questions to be considered when evaluating whether the organization and its activities are aligned to produce the intended impact. It is important that the museum is in constant dialogue with its environment to identify relevant changes for its communities, audiences, and itself. It is also crucial to think about for whom and with whom are the activities and services planned and implemented in order to achieve intended impacts. It's important to think how the resources, such as collections, competencies, premises, or financial resources, are put in the active use to produce the intended impacts. The focus must also be in developing a working culture that enables and promotes dialogue, setting mutual goals, creating new ideas, and well-being of staff. And it's important to ask if the range of museum activities, services, and programs has been created on the basis of conscious choices to achieve the intended impacts.
Well, how will you go through these key questions, and what kind of tool will help you in developing the impacts in your museum? What kind of things or areas will be or should be or need to be covered in the framework that we are building at the moment? In this slide, you will see the colorful squares, and in them you'll find some roles of the museums or approaches that have been identified in the previous forums and workshops. These areas can be looked through different lenses, like the competencies and resources you have, or the communities and audiences you work with. The areas are transversal, as impact cannot be looked at through individual processes or in silos, but from a more holistic perspective. And of course, I have to remind you that this slide is very much work in progress, and needs to be discussed and examined further. And one place to do this is today in this forum. Eeva will now briefly go through the framework and what it will provide and what it doesn't.
Yes, and what we aim in creating this model is a simple tool to rethink museums' organization. But we cannot promise a very compact tool since it is important to cover so many aspects in the museum organization. And it cannot be done with 10 or 20 evaluation questions. But what we want to do is that we are going to design the tool so that it can be used in modules, so that museum can choose whether it wants to go through the whole framework or just pick out some modules out of it and think about those. It's very important to also underline that this will be a self-evaluation tool. And this framework will not include an external evaluation. This framework will not be about quality in museum processes, but it can support and add to such evaluation and accreditation systems and models that are used in different parts of Europe. There will not be some evaluation results that would be compared or rated against other museums. That is not the point in this model. And it does not set any kind of required level against which the results are compared.
I do hope that you got some idea of the framework we are building together with our active and inspirational partners. If you want to know more, if you want to be involved, you can find us here in these online resources, and also you can contact us directly, and we are really glad to have you here.